join this group.
Yes.
I found this really nice guy in there and like
Yes.
told me all about Alex. And
Yes.
so
This is Alex.
Oh, good. It was the
So
same guy.
no, Alex met Sarah and Alex. Alex proposed last year at Sukkot
Okay.
to Sarah, who met in our group. Sarah
Okay, I
Riley.
know the couple.
Yes,
Okay,
and
thanks.
Sarah Helbert now is the name. I plan on doing an interview with them at Sukkot in person, but we did an interview. You guys can still find it though. Last year at Sukkot, I did it with them after they got engaged, while we were still at Sukkot. So that was really cool to be able to see them and actually watch their proposal, because he got up on stage and like proposed in front
of 1,200
of
people.
1,200 people.
wow.
Like, come on, that's a lot of
And
courage
he's
right
a
there in that
super
shot.
shy guy.
He is
so, like,
super shy. Like he is. Yes, he is. He is really.
I'm sure she
Alex
said yes.
Howard?
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I know Alex lives like 20
You
minutes
kind of
from
pressured
Yes.
into saying
Yes.
yes by 1,200 people applauding.
So what's interesting?
Oh right.
so-
There's no way she could say no when he did that.
That was smart.
Wow.
Totally not smart.
Yes.
I see.
So here's the thing: is he wasn't sure if he was going to propose or not while they were at Sukkot, but he decided to go ahead and do that. He told her sister, and she made a ring out of like twine or something like that. And then the other thing is they did not kiss until their wedding day. So when he proposed up on stage, they still didn't kiss. They hugged, but that was it. Like they didn't kiss. So I mean, how special is that
That's
in a
pretty
way
special.
of that kind of thing? And so
Purity.
it just was cute. And they have a good age difference. They're not close. They're
I think he's like, what, 32 or 33?
I think
Yeah,
She's
they're
like 19.
Yeah.
20.
19, 20. Yeah, so they're like
She turned 20 yesterday.
okay, yeah. So they're good distance age, away. But yeah, so that's how, and I've seen Sarah over the last couple of years at Sukkot. And so that's how I met Sarah. And then Mariah came up to me at my makeup booth and started to talk because of having the singles group at Sukkot. And so we were chit-chatting about relationships, and I told her she needs to come join the group. And so she did come join the group, even though Michael was not in our group.
I've known Michael for 18 years, so
Wow.
it's pretty crazy. We met at Sukkot 2002, and I thought he was really cute, and I had like a huge crush on him for like years and years. And in 2010, our family was living with theirs. We didn't have a place to stay, and they had like a big house, and so we were living with them, and we were like madly in love. And Michael asked my dad if he can marry me, and my dad was like, "She's 13 and you're 16." He's like, "Right now, like that's just like a little bit crazy." And he's like, "You just need to wait until both of y'all are more mature and more old." And so he takes me and my brother out to the volleyball court, and like, it's like, "So I asked your dad if I can marry you," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, is he about to propose?" Like, so I was like, "What? I'm gonna get engaged at 13. Wow, I'll get married at 17." And then he's like, "But he said we're too young for this," and I mean, I guess I agree with him. I was just like over there, like bawling my eyes out. I was like, "Wow, he just broke my heart." And Zachariah, my brother, looks at me. He goes, "One day I'm gonna be at y'all's wedding, and I'm gonna laugh." And like he got electrocuted and died in 2016. But like 2 weeks before he passed away, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, so I was thinking, Michael Sanders is still single," and I was like, "Huh? Yeah, no thanks." I'm like, Zachariah, like, I was like, that was years ago. I was like, I don't think he'll ever feel that way about me again. Like, I still kind of had a crush on him. I seen him at camp, and I was like, he's still as adorable as ever. And then like, I just kind of like gave up on the idea. And we got disconnected for since 2016, and then like I had been like stalking his family on Facebook unintentionally. Like, I didn't realize he was still single. I was like more or less watching what was going on in his sister's lives. They both gotten married and had children, and so I decided to reach out to his sister Abby on Passover, and I was like, "Happy Passover! Also, your daughter's beautiful, and you have a really beautiful family." And about 20 texts in, she's like, "So, are you interested in anybody?" I said, "No, guys are a bunch of jerks. Like, I'm so done with relationships. Like, I'd never been in a relationship, but I was already done because, like, guys are just jerks." So I told her. And she's like, "Well, Michael's still single, and he's a really good guy." And I was like, "Dad, Abby said Michael's still single." And Dad does this, "Michael Sanders?" And I was like, "Yeah." And Dad's like, you know, he always, like, he's like, out of all the guys you ever had, like, a slight crush on or whatever, he said, you were, like, madly in love with him, and he's like, and he was honestly the best guy you've ever liked. He's like, maybe pray about it. And then we both were laughing and joking about it, and Mom does this, I don't know, Mariah, she's like, you know, like, it didn't work out then, so, like, I don't know if it'd work out now. And so I was like, yeah, that's true. And then that night, I ended up FaceTiming Abby, and her and I talked for a couple hours, and she's like, I have to use the restroom. Want to talk to Michael for a second? And hands the phone to him. And I'm like, hi, this is awkward. And Michael's like, yeah, it is. And then like 5 minutes in, it literally seemed like not 1 minute had gone by since we last talked. And it just like, I was like, oh no, I think I'm like starting to get butterflies and this is weird. And we talked for like 5.5 hours.
Wow.
And then the next day, we talked for like 6.5 hours. He's like, so I think I kind of like you. I was like, you what? Like, you kind of like me? He's like, well, no, like, I think I'm falling in love with you all over again. And I just like,
Wow.
I was like, yeah, same. And so basically, he asked me if I could court him. And I was like, yes, of course. Like that day, I think. So like 2 days into talking. And
So how far apart did y'all live?
he was living in Minnesota and I was living in Oklahoma.
Okay.
But beforehand, like we literally lived like 30 minutes away.
So how did y'all keep your story up? But I want to hear how all that came together.
So basically, he asked Dad's blessing, and Dad was like, y'all need to take 3 days and not talk and fast and pray. Like, you guys can't text each other, you can't talk on the phone, you just need to pray. And I wasn't living at home, but I was like, I'm gonna honor and respect Dad. And like, that day, I just was like praying, and I like felt peace from the Father, and I like felt like confirmation, like, okay, I'm going to one day marry him. And so I told Dad that, and Dad's like, but it hasn't been 3 days. He said, I want your mom and I to have peace about it. I want Michael to be at peace with it. And so I was like, okay. And I was like, but I already know, I'm gonna marry him. Can I just call him and tell him? And Dad's like, no. And I was like, okay, I gotta practice patience. All right. And so like 3 days later, like as soon as it was 3 days, I like called him, like, hi. He's like, I have peace. I was like, me too. And so then we started courting, and Dad's like, but you cannot post anything until you see each other in person. And I was like, okay, yes sir. And so that was really hard not to post anything, because I was like, he's like, and you can't tell everyone, like you can tell your few close friends, but not everyone. So very limited people knew. And I planned a trip up there, and right before the trip, like I felt like the Father was saying, you need to quit your job and move home. And so I put in my 2-week notice. I was like, that way, like, since I'm already gonna be gone for a week, when I come back, I'll work the last week and fulfill my time here, and then I'll pack up and move. And then my boss says, okay, well, I'll see you next week. You'll be scheduled, blah, blah, blah. And I get up to Minnesota, and it's Friday at like 9 p.m. and I haven't gotten next week's schedule. And so I contact one of the girls I work with. I was like, am I not working next week? She's like, oh no, I guess Wednesday was your last day. And I was like, okay, that's like more like a 1 day notice, but okay, whatever. And so I was like, I called Dad. I was like, I'm gonna stay up here in Minnesota for a little bit longer if that's okay. And Dad's like, yeah, that's fine by me. And Mom, like, we were staying with his sister and brother-in-law. And so I was like, and then I'll go and visit Hannah for a weekend, and then go back and spend a little bit more time with Michael before I come back down. And I knew Michael was gonna propose, because like he slipped and said he had a ring. And so I was like, I know he's gonna propose. And then like the whole time goes by, and I'm like leaving to go to Hannah's. I'm like, okay, well, I thought he was gonna propose. So I told Dad, I was like, I have to go back up there because I know he's gonna propose. So like, I'm not just coming home from Hannah's, even though it's like 3 hours south, and I could be only 10 hours from home. Dad's like, well, just pray about timing. And then we're like, well, we know we're getting married anyways. Let's just elope. And so we planned on eloping. And Dad says, I pray about it. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna call the courthouse, see what they say. And they said, well, both of y'all have to have your birth certificates. Well, my birth certificate's in Oklahoma, so I took that as a sign. And then that night, I go up to where Michael is living in Duluth, and he proposed. And then we get to mom and dad's, and we're telling everyone July to September, somewhere in there. And then
The
dad
virus.
talked to Michael for like 2 hours, 3 hours, and was like, okay, so we've been talking and praying, and we're trying to get you guys married in the next couple weeks. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that, please. I really want to be married. I've been waiting for this day for 18 years. And so I was like, okay, well, I want to get married in Texas. And Dad said, well, who do you want to officiate the wedding? I said, Mr. Martinez. He said, we'll just see when he can do it in the next like month or so, and we'll try and have you married off in a month. And I was like, okay. So I call him and I was like, hey, Mr. Martinez. I was like, I was wondering if you would be willing to officiate mine and Michael's wedding. And he said, I'd be honored to. And he was one of Zachariah's and Isaiah's pastors at the congregation they were both going to down in Arlington, Texas. He's like, when do you want to get married? I said, the sooner the better. He's like, what are you doing Friday at 7? And I was like, getting married, I guess. So this is Sunday night at
Oh my
like
goodness.
5:30, 6 p.m. And so the following Friday we got married. Our wedding was like pretty much completely paid for. I think we only paid like a couple $100 out of our pockets
That's
for like everything in
wonderful.
total. And just like the father just confirmed so many things. Our venue was free, food was covered, the cake was covered,
She
flowers.
found her dress.
My dress was $59.
That's awesome.
And it was just like one confirmation after another, and I was like, when you know, you know. And
And we had friends that weren't gonna be able to make it because they felt the father told them that they should be there. So.
one of our friends who was at Revive actually, Caleb Camaro, we've known him for years, and he stepped up and took a brother role in my life when Zachariah passed away. And he heard from the father that he was supposed to stand in Zachariah's place at the wedding. And so it was just like really crazy. They drove all the way from Ohio overnight and got there like 7-8 hours before the wedding started. And so it's just like really like a lot of confirmation that we were supposed to get married, and that's when we were supposed to get married and everything.
So question, did Caleb laugh at your wedding?
Caleb did. Caleb was like, I knew this was coming. He's like, I didn't expect you to get married before me, because he got engaged in January. And he's like, I didn't expect that. He's like, but I mean, when you know, you know.
Yes.
And because we decided to have a short engagement, he was like, you know what, why don't we just have a small wedding? So him and Joy ended up getting married on the 30th of June. And they said, we wanted to get married in the same month you and Michael got married. And so they're having like a huge celebration in September. But
He also interrogated me on the way to take the photos. He was like, so, question. I was like, yes. And he's like, say you're talking to another believer, and they're like, instead of believing in the name of Yahweh, they're believing in the name of Jehovah or whatever. I was like, he's like, what do you do then? I was like, well, I'll say, I'll just agree to disagree. And he's like, what if they're like, and no, this is the only name. I was like, well, I said, hey, well, they should pray about it, and if the father tells them, then that's the name. He's like, what if the father did tell them? I was like, well, then I will pray that Yahweh will reveal that name to me if that is his true name, and if it until that day comes, I'm going to believe in the name of Yahweh. And he's like, there you go. Good job.
Pass the test.
Yeah.
How long ago you married?
we've been married
For like almost a month.
almost a month. So the
Oh,
12th
awesome.
the 12th will be 1 month.
That's all right, right.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yay.